Hello everyone. This is the day 7 of daily practice questions, and today we'll be starting with modern physics. Previously, we have covered questions from mechanics, and I thought of moving to the grade 12 portion. Modern physics is one of the topics or one of the units which comprises of many chapters as per grade 12 syllabus, and it is quite easy. And luckily, many questions come from modern physics, which is quite easy to handle in competitive exams. I think because of the varieties of the questions available in modern physics. Uh, so the first thing which we'll be discussing is the dual nature of matter and radiation. Here we'll talk about the photoelectric emission and questions based on that. Other thing, previously I used to show you each question and then the solution. This time we'll be doing it on the entire worksheet. I'll be doing a couple of questions from the worksheet, whichever you think if I did not discuss and you wanted me to discuss, you can simply comment below and I'll give the solution for that. So yeah, we'll be doing it on the entire worksheet, and if you can see, this is the worksheet over there, and the first page is not quite clear, but yeah, from the second page it's fine. So we'll be doing a couple of questions from the worksheet. Okay, starting with the very first question. If you can read it, the maximum kinetic energy of electrons emitted in the photoelectric effect is linearly dependent on the dash of the incident radiation. Fill in the blanks used to come back in 1984, but still concepts are concepts. So the maximum kinetic energy of electrons emitted in the photoelectric effect is linearly dependent. Remember, the kinetic energy maximum, it only depends upon the frequency and nothing else, and it's actually, if you see, it is h nu, that is the frequency, minus hf naught, where f naught is the threshold frequency. So it depends on the frequency, so the first result should come out to be as like frequency. The true or false, the kinetic energy of photoelectrons emitted by a photosensitive surface depends on the intensity of the incident radiation. No, kinetic energy just depends on the frequency and nothing else. So this is a false. And in a photoelectric emission process, the maximum energy of the photoelectrons increases with increasing intensity of the incident light. No, again, the maximum energy or the kinetic energy of the photoelectrons increases with intensity. Nothing happens to the kinetic energy when the intensity is changed. Okay, now comes the single correct answer, which is very famous. The maximum kinetic energy of photoelectrons emitted from a surface when photons of energy 6 eV fall on it is 4 eV. The stopping potential in volts is. Remember, when photons of energy, there is a plate on which a photons of energy 6 eV falls, and the kinetic energy with which the electrons come out is 4 eV, the maximum kinetic energy that is given to you. That means the work function of that particular metal surface, it's something like we are giving 6 eV and the electron is coming out with 4 eV. That means it has utilized 2 eV to come out, so that 2 eV is basically the work function. The stopping potential in volts, whatever is the maximum kinetic energy in electron volt, just that value is nothing, in volts is the stopping potential. To stop that particular electron, this much negative potential will be required, that is 4 volts. This is given in EV, that is why I could directly answer it as 4. If it is given in joules, you will have to convert it. E is basically here the charge times voltage or the potential, that is going to give me again the energy. So the result will come out to be as 4. The second question, the work function of a substance is 4. The longest wavelength of light that can cause photoelectron emission from this substance is approximately. The work function is given to you as 4 eV, and this work function here is going to affect you in a way. The work function is 4 eV, and the longest wavelength we need to find out. So minimum the light should give, means the photon should have that much energy. The photon should have the energy of 4 electron volt, the minimum energy required. The energy basically of a photon is given by hf, or I can write it as hc over lambda. This is the result. This hc by lambda can also be written as 1242 upon lambda in nanometers, and this will give me energy in EV. So if I already have the energy in EV, I can find the lambda in nanometers, because you can see the options are here in nanometers. So lambda in nanometers will come out to be as 1242 divided by 4. That will approximately come out to be around 310. So this should be the correct result. See, a particle of mass m at rest decays in two particles of masses m1 and m2 having non-zero velocities. The ratio of the de Broglie wavelength of the particles lambda 1 by lambda 2. Okay, there is a particle of mass m at rest decays into two particles. Let's say there is a particle of mass m. It decays into two particles of masses m1 and m2 having non-zero velocities. That means it broke down and now it decays into two particles, one moving with one m1 and another m2 moving with different velocities. Yeah, having non-zero velocity. So let's say this is moving with some velocity v1, this is moving with some velocity v2. The initial momentum of the system is 0. The final momentum should also be 0 according to law of conservation of momentum, because there is no external force applied on the system decayed by itself. So m1 v1 is going to be m2 v2. This will give me the relation between v1 by v2, that is nothing but m1 by m2. Okay, we are just concerned about the magnitude. That is why their momentum has to be equal in magnitude, because the directions is going to cancel them out. So that is the situation. I could have written it in this manner: m1 v1 minus m2 v2 should be equal to the momentum of this, that is 0. The same thing we'll get. So this is the ratio of the velocities. We have been asked to find out the ratio of the de Broglie's wavelength. Okay, we read it as de Broglie, it is de Broglie in actual manner. So lambda 1 by lambda 2, lambda is h over mv. So h by m1 v1 over h by m2 v2. So effectively I'll get m2 v2 over m1 v1. And these two are equal, so it should come out to be as 1. Do we have an option? Yep. 1 should be the correct result. Moving further, a proton has a kinetic energy E equal to 100 keV, which is equal to that of a proton. A proton has kinetic energy E equal to 100 keV, which is equal to that of a proton. Okay, maybe it's a mistake. They wanted to write either of this as photon instead of proton. Photon should be the correct result. I don't know which one is photon. Let's try to handle it. The wavelength of photon is lambda 2 and that of proton is lambda 1. The ratio of lambda 2 over lambda 1 is proportional to. The proton has kinetic energy this, which is equal to that of a photon. This should be photon. The wavelength of photon is lambda 2 and that of a proton is lambda 1. The ratio of lambda 2 by lambda 1 is proportional to. We need to find out that. So if we think of this situation, we will be getting the photon has wavelength or energy is equal. The proton has energy equal to 100 keV. So it will have some wavelength. Let it be lambda 2, which is given, I think. Lambda 2 is that of proton. The wavelength of photon is lambda 2 and that of proton. Okay, lambda 1 it will be. And for the proton it is lambda 1. So for the photon it is proton it is lambda 2, and for the photon it is lambda 2, and it has the same energy. This is about proton and this is about photon. Okay, so E is equals to hc over lambda 2. This should be the case. And lambda 1, if I consider this, so lambda 1 will come out to be h over mv. Okay, I can write mv as h over under root 2 me. This should be the result. This should be the case, because the mv can be written as under root 2 mk, and k is the kinetic energy here, so I can use it as under root 2 me. And we need to find the ratio lambda 2 by lambda 1 is proportional to. Okay, let's find lambda 2 from here. That will be hc over e, and lambda 1 is h over under root 2 ma. If we divide both of this, lambda 2 over lambda 1, we are going to get something like hc by e over h over root 2 me. This should be the case. This h will get cancelled out. C over C under root 2 me over E. This should be the case, so it should come out to be as root E, or lambda 2 by lambda 1 should come out to be e to the power minus half, because this is e to the power half, so it's going to be e to the power minus half. The result should be B. Yeah. Moving further, in a photoelectric experiment, anode potential is plotted against plate current. In this type of situation, always remember, if this is matching, the photocurrent is matching, that means intensity is same. That means for B and for C, intensity is same. And if this is matching, that means the frequency is same. Frequency for A and frequency for B, they are same. Select the correct statement. A and B will have different intensities. A and B will have different intensities, pretty sure, because the currents are different. While B and C will have different frequencies. While B and C have different frequencies, again, that's perfectly fine. So A should be the correct result. Still, let's check the other options. B and C will have different intensities, while B and C will have different intensities. No, B and C have same current, so effectively B and C will have the same intensities. That's the wrong option. A and B will have different intensities, while A and C will have same frequencies. A and B will have different intensities, that is correct. But A and C will have equal frequencies, that's wrong, because A and B has equal frequencies. A and B will have equal intensities, while B and C have different frequencies. Again, the same situation, A and B will have equal intensities. No, that's not correct, because they have different current, so effectively different intensity will come out. Okay. A beam of electron is used in a YDSC experiment. The slit width is d. When the velocity of electron is increased, then what will happen? A beam of electron is used in a YDSC experiment. If you remember, in the YDSC situation, we have beta, that is the fringe width is given by lambda d over d, where d is the screen separation and small d is the slit separation. Yeah, remember, the same results we can apply here, like for the electron, because electron here will behave as a wave, and for the light as well, so it hardly matters here. Lambda d by d, a beam of electron is used in a YDSC experiment. The slit width is d. When the velocity of electron is increased, then what will happen? No interference is observed. No, that's not the case. Fringe width is given by this. Velocity is increased if velocity of the electron is increased, so lambda is equals to h over mv. Here there is no expression of velocity, but as v will increase, lambda will reduce, and when lambda will reduce, correspondingly beta will reduce. So the fringe width should decrease. This should be the correct result. If a star can convert all the helium nuclei completely into oxygen nuclei, the energy released per oxygen nuclei is this. Okay, and the mass of oxygen nucleus is this. Then what do we have to find out? Okay, fine. The energy released per oxygen nuclei, we have to find out that. If a star can convert all the helium nuclei completely into oxygen nuclei, you should know that helium is 4,2 and oxygen is 68. So if it is converting all the helium nuclei completely into oxygen nuclei, that means to complete the set of nuclear reaction, I should have 4 times of He42. Then only I can get 16 oxygen, because the nuclear reaction should have a charge balancing state. So 16 on the mass number and again 8 on the proton number, that is the atomic number. If a star can convert all the helium nuclei completely into oxygen nuclei, the energy released per oxygen nuclei is mass of helium nucleus is given and mass of oxygen nucleus is given. You can find it out. You simply have to mass 4 into mass of this plus because only one oxygen is there, so 1 into mass of whatever it is given, subtract both of these, the amount which you will get is nothing but the energy released, whatever it will be. Okay, a pulse of light of duration 100 nanosecond is absorbed completely by a small object initially at rest. Power of the pulse is 30 milliwatt. Remember one thing here, that power is energy per unit time. When you have been given intensity, intensity means energy per unit area per unit time. Energy per unit area per unit time. So effectively, if you have been given intensity, sometimes you can say that you have been given power per unit area. So you should understand this thing in this way, then only you can get what exactly the question here is saying. A pulse of light of duration 100 nanosecond. That means a light was switched on for 100 nanosecond. There is a pulse of light is absorbed completely by a small object initially at rest. There is an object which is initially at rest and it absorbed this pulse of light, whatever this pulse of light which has a time 100 nanosecond. The power of the pulse is 30 milliwatt. The power of this pulse is 30 milliwatt. That means it produces an energy of 30 into 10 raised to the power minus 3 joules per second. But the pulse was actually not there for 1 second. The pulse was there only for 100 nanosecond. So how much energy it will produce? So this is the amount per second. So in this much second it is going to produce 100 into 10 raised to the power minus 9. This is the energy which was generated by the pulse in this time. So basically this is the amount of energy which is going to be transferred or which is going to be given to the particle on rest. And the speed of light is given to you. The final momentum of the object is. So this is the energy which will be given to the particle at rest, and we need to find out the final momentum. If we know about the light thing, so I'll come over here. E is equals to PC. We have Einstein's 4-degree equation, means a 4th degree equation. E square is equals to P square C square plus M naught square C raised to the power 4. This is the result. This is the Einstein's very famous equation where M naught is the rest mass and C is the speed of light. P is the momentum. So for photons or pulse, light pulse and all, rest mass becomes 0. So this term vanishes. We have only E equal to PC. So if E is equals to PC, then P will come out to be as E over C. This is the amount of energy which is given to the system. So what will be the momentum? This divided by 3 into 10 raised to the power 8. 3 will get cancelled out and things will go on. 10 to the power minus 3, 100, 0. So this will vanish. 10 to the power minus 9 and minus 8 will go up. 10 to the power minus 17. We have an option 1.0 into 10 to the power minus 17. So the major thing here is to understand what exactly they mean by the term power. Most of the time they will also use the term intensity. So you should remember that what exactly it means. Okay, a metal surface is illuminated by light of two different wavelengths, 248 and 310. The maximum speeds of the photoelectrons corresponding to these wavelengths are U1 and U2 respectively. If the ratio U1 is to U2 is 2 is to 1 and Hc is 1 to 40, the work function of the metal is. Okay, fine. There is a metal surface which is illuminated by light of two different wavelengths, 248 and 310. Two different wavelengths, 248 and 310. This is in nanometer. We use normally the result here which I told you, E is equals to Hc by lambda. If lambda is given in nanometer, which will be in most of the times, and energy is given in EV again, which will be in most of the times, then Hc can be given as 1242. This is the actual value. They have taken it as 1240. That's perfectly okay. The work function of the metal is, when the first wavelength hit the maximum speed of the photoelectron corresponding to these wavelengths, the photoelectron which came out has speed u1 and the second has speed u2, and there is a ratio which is given for u1 is to u2, that is 2 is to 1, that is 2 is to 1. So we need to find out that what exactly is the situation here when it we need to find out what is the work function. Yeah, we need to find out what is the work function. Let's find out the maximum kinetic energy first. So kinetic energy maximum will be the energy which is given to the system minus work function. So the energy which is given to the system is nothing but 1242 or 40 to be precise, Hc over lambda, which is 248, is equal to, minus, this is the energy given, minus work function 5. And kinetic energy maximum here is half m1 or m v square, or here I can say that u1 square. So I can simply write it as 2v square. And in the same way, we can have the another equation, half m v square is equals to 1240 by 310 minus 5. So we have two relations, we can divide that. From here we'll get v square, 4v square. This relation can also be divided from with here. If you calculate, you can get the value of phi. It should be easy, shouldn't be like a big calculation, because this is being divided by 4 exactly. This will be a little like I think it is 5, 248, 1240, 250, 4. Yeah, this is 5. This is 5 minus 5, and this is 4 minus 5. So this will get divided. 4v square will get cancelled out. Only 4:1 will be left. From here you can calculate 5, whatever it is. So these were some questions which are of single type, single correct questions. We'll take couple of multiple correct option as well. The threshold wavelength for photoelectric emission from a material. The threshold wavelength is the maximum wavelength. If it was written threshold frequency, it is the minimum frequency, because the wavelength is in the denominator for the expression of the energy. The threshold wavelength for photoelectric emission from a material is 5200 angstrom. You can say it as 520 nanometer, that's same. Photoelectrons will be emitted when this material is illuminated with monochromatic radiation from a threshold wavelength is given 5200 angstrom. So that means that this is the wavelength which is required. So work function will come out to be Hc over lambda, that will come out to be 1242 over 520. So this is approximately equal to 500, approximately equal to 2.4. This will be the result, 2.4 or 2.3 EV, electron volt. And you have been asked, photoelectrons will be emitted when this material is illuminated with monochromatic radiation of, this is the energy, 50 watt infrared lamp, 1 watt infrared lamp, 50 watt ultraviolet lamp, 1 watt ultraviolet lamp. Okay, here what is the energy per unit time? What means basically energy per unit time? We are not concerned about the energy per unit time. Yeah, we are concerned about only the energy which is falling over there, not the energy per unit time. And 50 watt infrared lamp and 50 watt ultraviolet lamp. So we should also know the electromagnetic spectrum, that where exactly infra lies and where exactly ultraviolet lies. There is a very simple trick to remember that. One of my students once told me something like Ram moved into a van with UV's ex-girlfriend. Yeah, you can remember it using this. R for this radio, M for micro, I for infra, V for visible, U for UV, X for X-ray, and girlfriend, G for gamma. So it's like that. Anyway, so here the frequency, okay, for the electron to be emitted or electron to come out, the energy which is given to it should be more than the threshold, like more than the work function. The work function is coming out to be 2.4 eV. If we check about the infrared radiation, infra is here, UV is here. The I remember it this way, that infra, visible, UV. Visible will go as like infrared, so red will be closer this side, and ultraviolet, so violet will be closer this side. That means this will be VIBGYOR. We know that red has maximum wavelength, so effectively we are going this side as increasing wavelength. Wavelength is increasing, and wavelength is increasing, that means energy is decreasing this side, and energy is increasing this side. So ultraviolet has more energy than infrared. One thing, it does not depend on the intensity of the light which is falling, it depends on the frequency of the light. Now the red has a wavelength 700 nanometer. That means the energy of a photon of red is approximately 1240 by 700. That will come out to be around 1.5 or 6, something like that, 1.6 eV. The work function required is 1.4 eV. So when we talk about 2.4 eV, 1.7 is this, 1.6 is this is red. See, you can calculate all this if you practice a lot, like it's very easy to calculate. 1.6 here, you can just take the approximation. So if you're going for further increasing wavelength, that means infra will have energy lesser than this. Violet, on the other hand, has a wavelength around 400 nanometer. So the energy will come out to be approximately 3 eV, because 1240 by 400. And ultraviolet will have more energy. So basically, ultraviolet will be able to eject out or eliminate the electron, rather than infra, whatever intensity, whatever energy you give it, it is not going to work out. So ultraviolet will work, but infra will not work. This is the situation. So C or D should be the result. Uh, Photoelectric effect supports quantum nature of light, because photoelectric effect supports quantum nature of light. That's true, because there is a minimum frequency of light below which no photoelectrons are emitted. That's true. There is a minimum frequency of light, because in wave theory, it is basically a question like why particle theory and not wave theory. So there is a minimum frequency of light, because below which no photoelectrons are emitted. That's true. If it would have been wave, there would have been some time after which the electrons would start ejecting. The maximum kinetic energy of photoelectron depends only on the frequency of light and not on the intensity. That is also perfectly fine. And even when the metal surface is faintly illuminated, the photoelectron leaves the surface immediately. This is the same situation. Illumination does not matter for the ejection. Electric charge of the photoelectrons is quantized. No, this is true, but this is not the explanation for this, because electric charge may be quantized, but it has nothing to do with this photoelectric emission. So this is not this the result. The statement is true, but this has no relation with the photoelectric emission. So ABC should be the correct result. Anyway, I'm taking like all the questions. Just skip some of them. Try a couple of questions by yourself. I should take this graphical one. This is a type. The graph between the stopping potential V0 and 1 by lambda is shown. See, whenever you have been given a graph, just try to plot it first by yourself, so you get the relation. V0 and 1 by lambda. So if we see V0, it is basically, we are talking about kinetic energy maximum is hc over lambda minus, this is the energy which has been given to it, minus the work function, which is a constant. And kinetic energy maximum can be written as EV0. So V0 comes out to be hc over E lambda minus phi over E. This should be the case. I can write this as hc by E, which is a constant, into 1 by lambda, which I can treat as x minus a constant. Again, it should not be EV, it will be just E. Again a constant, some k. So if we have V0 versus 1 over lambda, it is going to be compared with, which is y is equals to mx minus c. So the result will come out to be like this. At this is the intercept which it is cutting. So it will be phi by e, and the slope tan theta is going to be hc by e. Okay, now let's see what the question says. And is shown in the figure. Phi 1, phi 2 and phi 3 are the work function. Then which of the following is correct? Phi 1 is for this, phi 2 is for this, phi 3 is for this. Now you see phi by e, wherever it cuts, that will be the work function, and down below, more it cuts down, the work function will be more. So this will be less, next will be more, next will be more. Here it will be phi 1 will be less, phi 2 will be more, and phi 3 will be more. So phi 1 is to phi 2 is to phi 3 is 1 is to 2 is to 4. What have they given? Okay, they have just given a random ratio. No. They have also given the number here, 0.01 and all. So it should be 1 is to 2 is to 4. Yeah, phi 1 is small, phi 2 is more, and phi 3 is correct. So basically A should be correct. This cannot be true, because here they are saying that phi 1 is more. Tan theta is directly proportional to hc by E. Tan theta is directly proportional to hc by E. Tan theta in fact is equal to hc by E, so it's a constant thing. Tan theta is proportional to hc by E, so even this is correct. Ultraviolet light can be used to emit photoelectrons from metal 2 and metal 3 only. Okay. Metal 2 and metal 3. Metal 2 and metal 3 have more work function, and metal 1 have less work function. So if ultraviolet light, say for example, imagine that ultraviolet can eject or emit electrons from metal 2 and 3, then automatically it should eject or emit electron from metal 1 also, because Metal 1 has less work function than 2 and 3. So uh, D cannot be true. So the answer should be A and C, I think. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. The result for this is A and C, and this is the case. You need to understand graphs because there will be many questions on graph based on graphs. Try this one. This is a similar question like the Young's double slit experiment. The intensity depends on the area, the square. So you can try to solve according to that. These are some paragraph based questions. Let's take the first integer type. Paragraph based will be like you will again have to read it and correspondingly solve this situation. These are generally not very difficult. Try them. There you're gonna get the allowed energy for the particle of a particular value of n is proportional to the energy proportionality. This is actually a question based on atomic structure, that the transition will happen and all. Okay, let's take the integer type. An alpha particle and a proton are accelerated from rest by a potential difference of 100 volt. Okay, there is an alpha particle and a proton. You should remember again some results. Alpha, proton, electron, neutron. You will also get a word deuteron, and these are some. There is I don't know. Yeah, deuteron will be there. Electron, proton, neutron. There will be hydronium ion. Okay, let's coming on this. Alpha, this is He2 plus. Its charge plus 2e, mass approximately 4 times of mass of proton, approximately. So you can treat it as that because it is constituted of 2 protons and 2 neutrons. Proton, it is the charge plus e, and mass is mp because most of the time we'll be comparing it. Electron charge is minus e, and the mass is 1837 times smaller than proton. Most of the time it will be given as not smaller than, basically divided it these many times. Normally we write it as 2000 only. So electron is way too lighter than proton. Neutron charge 0. It has a mass more than proton, greater than proton, but almost equal to proton. You can say that, or you can say that proton plus electron gives me the mass of neutron. This is the case, and electron is almost negligible, so we treat it as equal. But neutron is heavier. Remember, deuteron, or we normally call it as like 2H1. So the charge is still plus e, but the mass is 2 times of mass of proton. So you can think of that way. Deuteron is basically, we are talking about hydrogen H21. So in this situation, one neutron gets added to it. So one proton and one neutron will be there. So 2 times of mass of proton approximately, and charge will be 1 only. So here the question says an alpha particle and a proton are accelerated from rest by a potential difference of 100 volt. Both have been accelerated from rest by the same potential. So the potential is same, alpha and proton. You have an alpha particle and a proton, and they have been accelerated by the same potential, let's say V. The de Broglie wavelengths are lambda alpha and lambda b. Lambda alpha and lambda b. And they have asked you the ratio, lambda p by lambda alpha. Let's find out lambda alpha by lambda b. Or let's find out the exactly what they have asked. Lambda p by lambda alpha. Lambda p over lambda alpha. Lambda for these particles like alpha and proton and all, it is going to be h over mv. You can write h over mv as h over root 2 m kinetic energy, which can be written as h over root 2 m qv. This is the case. And here if you see the charge and the potential, they have been given same potential. So whatever is same, sometimes they will be given same kinetic energy, sometimes they will be given same momentum. You will have to convert this result according to that. So h upon under root 2 mqv. So I'll be directly using it as h over under root 2 mqv divided by same h over under root 2 mqv. So I can say that as under root 2 m alpha q alpha v, which is same, under root 2 m proton q proton v, which is same. This will get cancelled. I can write m alpha as 4 times of mass of proton, q alpha as 2e, and this can be written as 2 mass of proton, and Qp can be written as E. This will get cancelled. I'm left with 416, and down here we have 2. So effectively it becomes um, 2 will get cancelled out. 4 into 2 under root 8, which is 2 root 2. What the question is saying, the ratio lambda p by lambda alpha to the nearest integer. Root 9 is 3, and 2 root 2 means root 8. That means we are very close to that, so it should be equivalent to 3. So the result should come out to be as 3. There are other questions as well. Try them all, and yeah, we should be. These questions are quite easy, guys. You can always handle the questions from this dual nature and all. In fact, the entire modern physics, it's really easy. Um, my voice may be a little slow because I'm recording it actually in the late night, so I can't speak louder. Anyway, if you like this, please share it so that it can reach more people. Have a good day, but remember, it is very important for you to practice the question and not me over here. So practice as many questions as you can, and it is very important because the dates have been extended. You are getting time till July. It's too much, so if you really do it seriously, you're gonna crack it for sure. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good day.